and true. Gotta keep the straight stuff together like glue. I'm a rooster. I'm on my way. Have to keep my kids, keep my woman safe. The woman is the soul of a man. She's the soul of a man. She can keep it all together when you can. She's the flame from which I flow. Different many things that I don't know, but I'm a rooster, and that's a fact. So now you know how I'm gonna act. I'm a rooster, full legit. Keeping the strong boys with true grip. Think it hard, you can't split. Some talk tough, some talk quick. Only the punk say that. And that's straight up country, boy. What you doing? You can take. Ain't no building tall enough. Ain't no. We were young and used to play all day. Oh, when night came, the lights were dancing away. Oh, so good, so warm, it felt to play. Like being in your mama's arms, so safe. Well, Lord, where did all the pipelines go? Hold your breath, no more moving in the night. Well, Lord, where did all the pipelines go? I heard someone say, Lord, they ain't never coming back. Running wild, feeling on so free. Trying to light the night up with the fire inside of me. All them lights, Lord, they let me be me. Where did all the fireflies go? Where did they go? Well, Lord, where did all the fireflies go? Hold your breath, no more moving in the night. Well, Lord, where did all the fireflies go? I heard someone say they ain't ever coming back. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started here in just a minute. Well, Lord, where did all the fireflies go? Oh, hold your breath, no more moving in the night. Oh, well, Lord, where did all the fireflies go? I heard someone say, Lord, they ain't never coming back.
All right. Oh, Kelly's gonna. Hey, Matt, how you doing?
Hello, Kim. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a crazy day.
In a good way or bad way?
Oh, it's. I mean, you can't really have a bad way right now with all the winning that's going on.
Fair enough.
Even when you're having a bad day, you just have to go and look at the winning. I mean, I can't believe I'm even saying that you can go and look at at our government and be like, "Oh, this will cheer me up."
You mean as opposed to the last 4 years?
You're right. Hi, Mr. Philby. Or maybe not.
Let me guess, he's driving.
Probably.
Or in the McDonald's drive-thru getting some fries and a fish sandwich.
Uh,
He had a home cooked meal today.
Yeah, and I got a doggy bag.
Do you have a dog?
But I got the bag.
Are we talking money bags?
No, we're talking about food.
I figured we were. I was just kidding around, guys.
I mean,
Quick
there are
question.
definitely some money bags going on.
Yeah, don't be left holding them bags. But what's it called? My mom told me that Ilhan Omar got removed from Congress. Is that true?
She got moved
No,
from the committee.
no,
Committee. Okay, committee. Okay, that's it.
I don't think that's true either.
Okay. Well,
I think they were trying
I
to
think both
destroy them.
should be true.
She should be expelled from Congress. That's what she should be.
A lot of things should be true, but they're not.
Yeah, expelled from Congress is exactly where she should be. There's no question about it. You don't refer to your country uh, and have that be inferred as Somalia when you're an elected representative of the United States government and you've sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution. So I think what we have here is a failure to
That
a failure to uphold the spirit and the letter of the law as it relates to the Constitution. And what we witnessed uh, not very long ago in the last Congress was the removal, the expulsion of a duly elected, qualified person from the state of New York, Mr. George Santos, from the Congress. Somebody who had not even been convicted of a crime, still not convicted of a crime. They didn't like him because he embellished his resume. Um, well, I would refer you to the right honorable gentleman from Connecticut who swore that he was a Vietnam veteran and never saw Vietnam. So I think that you've got somebody claiming stolen valor there, and he's still allowed to serve in the Senate. He was still allowed to chair committees. You know, I'm not going to question whether or not the guy is a patriot, okay? But what I am going to question is, why doesn't the Senate follow its rules? Why don't the ethics committee rules, why did they only apply to Republicans? Been very few Democrats ever removed from Congress. It's mostly been Republicans. The exception to that was back when they had the House Page scandal, and it was a little bit difficult when you have members of Congress chasing little boys up and down the aisles of the House of Representatives. Those people needed to go, and you have people like Larry Craig, who may have been gay, but not necessarily a child molester, and he was forced to resign. That was a little bit different time than what we're in now, but Ilhan Omar has demonstrated over and over again that her loyalties are not here in the United States. She is only here as a member of Congress to represent a large population of the state of Minnesota that is Somali. And that's not to say that those Somalis are bad people or that they didn't deserve to be given asylum. But at the same time, you can't you can't move masses of people into areas of the country that are ill-equipped to handle them. And that happened during the Biden administration with refugees from, I believe it was refugees from Haiti. And so they spoke, their primary language is Creole. And do you know, if you want to make a lot of money in this country, you become a Creole interpreter. Yeah. Because you can get yourself $600 an hour.
Which come down to Florida. I lived in like Boynton Beach, which was like 90% Haitian. Like all my neighbors were Haitian. Good people.
Yeah, but it's way better than being an attorney. It's.
Chris, I wanted to point something out without people like, okay, George Santos, right? Like who like if you went back and 15 years, you'd say gay Republicans would save America, like you wouldn't, like the Republican Party would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But you had Scott Pressler out there, you had George Santos. That's why they hated George Santos, because he stood up like against their narrative,
He told the truth.
Yeah, and it was like, how do we defeat a gay Republican man as the Democrats? You know what I mean? Like they had trouble. They couldn't do that. He's Spanish. He's gay. He's American. like.
And then they put a Democrat in his seat.
Yeah.
Don't forget they threw him out and then put a Democrat in that very same seat.
And
just feckless.
And arguably, the guy was performing constituent services at a level as good or better than anybody else in Congress. And he wasn't getting complaints from people for not doing his job. He got complaints because people didn't like him. Well, I didn't like Joe Biden, but I had to put up with his ass for 4 years. and we never had an opportunity to impeach him or throw him out. Of course, he had a little insurance policy called Kamala Harris. But regardless of that, you know, Ilhan Omar does not belong in the Congress. And, you know, I don't know the exact, you know, pathway to her getting into Congress. I know that she married a brother somewhere along the way. Uh, so there's that too. Last I checked, in most states, it's not legal for you to marry your brother. And it's,
Let alone for citizenship, right?
and she, she,
Which is the only reason she married her brother in the first place, right? Because if you marry someone who's not a citizen or who is a citizen, and you're not one, you de facto become one. I
Yeah,
presume.
you go through the process. It's a short
Cool.
process compared to like the regular process. Most
It
definitely.
is. I put a video in the pill about Omar yesterday. That
well,
they're having an investigation.
yeah,
I mean,
we're,
I put it in.
thank you, Stacey. We're going to defer here for a moment to Walter or No Quarter, uh, who
Mm.
who is politically plugged in Minnesota. Not that Stacey isn't, but you know he's got some bona fides that are not questionable. So we want to give Walter the floor to speak on since he lives in Ilhan Omar's district and has had been subject to suffer with her for 3 terms now. So
Yeah, I've when I'm on campaigns that want to go into that district, I'm like, that district. As a matter of fact, everybody knows that she's corrupt and her disdain for this country. She is the leader of the Somali community, whether they like it or not, and they don't all like her, but they like that she protects the free stuff that they're getting. And that's the best they have for representation at this time. And I don't know that we're ever going to be able to take that seat from her. It's hers by virtue of whatever. But we can we can. There's workarounds. We don't have to have that seat. There are other seats we can have and get our power back. But I gave up on that one a long time ago, Chris. I just don't think that is a something that we can touch because we've had our own Republicans defend her in this state.
well,
When
Walter,
yeah, when we
let me ask you a question.
yeah, yep,
So how long she's been in there? This is 3 terms, I guess, for her, right? Or going on, maybe this is her 4th
correct,
term.
3. Yep.
Elected 3 times. So uh, she's got 4 years she served and going to start in or to going towards 6. But the Somali people in Minnesota have been there for quite a while, right? I mean, they just didn't get there when she got there, right? Or was she part of that original group?
No, you're right. That's correct.
So if you've got a natural born American in that Somali group that can get to was 25 years old. Is that the magic number for the House of Representatives?
24, yep, 25, yep.
Yeah. So if you can find a 25-year-old that was born here, I mean, they don't even necessarily need to be born here, obviously. But if you found one that was okay, that was a natural born American citizen, okay, who of Somali descent, even if they were a Democrat, they would probably be better than her because they would have some loyalty to this country.
Well, there are some already, that are in, there are in the city council, there are representatives and what have you. And I don't know that they would be better. They may be worse. And I know that's hard to fathom, but trust me, where they're at
Actually,
right
it's
now.
not. Actually, it's not because because the Democrats just put up a guy as chair, even if he is a placeholder, who seemingly thinks the party's not going left enough, fast enough, and they just made David Hogg the vice.
Correct.
So it's not hard to believe at all.
I appreciate you backing me up on that one because I really believe that, and I believe that that seat is going to be hers for some time until I don't know when. I don't know how she gets moved out. Too much money is coming in from all over the country and all over the world to be sure that she keeps that seat. So I can't imagine what will happen to remove her. But these guys
Somali
that are,
first.
yeah,
Well,
and don't forget that Minnesota is what there are a lot of corrupt states out there, but Minnesota is trying to keep up with the most corrupt. They have Antifa Ellison as Attorney General here. He uses Antifa as the long arm of the law. There's no better person to have as Attorney General in Minnesota for criminals. So I mean, the guy he has just as much disdain and hate for this country as Elon Omar. They're definitely birds of a feather.
Only question is how much longer is it till Minnesota till America Mission gives Minnesota a big bronze trophy for most corrupt state in the country.
Look forward to it. And just so you know, I do believe on the lower seats, I should say. What do you want to call them? The down ballot. We're turning a corner because we just tied up the House and the Senate. We're in a tie. I think the Senate might be 34-33. But either way, that's the closest it's been for a long time. Still have the governorship. And I see some other things happening. And then just to give you guys a heads up, guy, Navy SEAL. He ran for Congress, and some stuff happened back in 2022. But he's back to run for Tina Smith's seat as senator on the federal level. So he called me today, as a matter of fact, and we had a good conversation. I think that this guy, this is what a badass he is. He was a special forces in the Marines. He put in for paperwork to become a SEAL, and they laughed at him and said, "Yeah, that's a long line. You're never going to get there." They moved him up as quick as possible. That's how much of a badass he is, and he retired as a Navy SEAL. I was in his commercials when he ran for Congress, but this guy here, we'll get him in. You guys want to hear somebody who's solid and who has a game plan like you've never heard before? It was fantastic listening to this guy today. He has his fingers in on everything. He's been planning for the past 2.5 years for this seat. So we're ready to go here. And he's going to be running against Royce White. Sorry, Adam, because the Royce White signed up, threw his hat in the ring for that same seat, and he's not going anywhere this time.
Oh, geez.
Wait, so Royce White is going for the same seat, or?
Yes, correct. He's not going for Amy Klobuchar's seat anymore. He's going for Tina Smith's seat.
Who's Tina Smith?
Tina Smith is the senator of Minnesota.
Okay, state senator or
State? No, she's the
U.S.
U.S. Okay.
Senate.
I had not
her
heard
and
that
Amy
name.
Klobuchar are U.S. Senate.
Okay. I had not heard that name, so thank you.
All right, let's get started on the last portion of the Constitution before we get to the amendments. I'm super excited about doing that.
Well, real quick,
obviously
I do want to plug myself. I got a quote posted by Rob Schneider, who I am a big fan of. He stood up when it was tough during COVID to stand up, and he was like a handful of people that stood up with prominent names against it. And I remember him going on his comedy tour during that time. And I want like I know we did the Alex Jones, but I think that would be a great Faces of Intrepidity for the next thing. So I just want to give him a shout out and give myself a shout out because woo!
Why don't you?
For Ron.
Why don't I love that. And so, congratulations. Why don't you take a stab at writing an article about him?
Okay,
dude, my hat's off to you, brother.
I'll do it.
That's awesome,
Right? Like, yo, I was so
dude.
stoked. I felt like a fangirl almost, like, just because, like, it's tough to stand up against tyranny, when so many people are falling for it and falling in line, and it takes a lot of courage to stand up, like many of us did during that time. And he's one of them to be in such a, place as an actor, and comedian, where they shut you down really hard if you step out of line. He did it. He didn't care, and he talked his smack on stage. It was great. So I just wanted to plug him and plug myself as well. Not in that way.
Great job, Adam. It's winning. It's just winning, It feels so good.
Dude, that is wicked. My hat's off to you, brother. That's freaking wicked.
Well, and Elon's been freaking tweeting or retweeting Insurrection Barbie quite a bit.
And Jacktron, right? Our very own.
Yeah, I love it.
American Mission.
I like it that he's branching out. Well, we are that flag. It's just like his pack. I'm very excited about President Trump's latest tweet about, getting rid of all of the Biden era judges, having Pam get rid of them. I love it. Got to get rid of all that fraud. All right, so we're going to go through Articles 5, 6, and 7 today. I'm going to read through Article 5, and then I've got a short 5-minute video for that one. And then I'll read 6 and 7 and another 5-minute video for both of those together. So Article 5 says the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution or on the application of the legislature of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which in either case shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of the 3/4 of the several states or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clauses in the 9th section of the first article, and that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate. Man, that's a mouthful. All right, here we go. Let's play this.
Today we're looking at Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution. Hello and welcome to the Daily Bell Ringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out the worksheet in the description that goes along with this video, available at dailybellringer.com. Thus far in the United States Constitution, we've shown how the first 3 articles created the framework for the United States government. Then in Article 4, it established state relationships. But now we move on to Article 5. Article 5, which is the first article to not include sections, and actually all the remaining articles 6 and 7 do not include sections either. But Article 5 establishes the process by which the Constitution can be amended or changed. An amendment is simply an addition or changing of the Constitution. Now, before I get into the procedure laid out in the Constitution, I want to take a brief moment to discuss the difference between a law and an amendment. If you remember back to Article 1, Section 7, it established how a bill becomes a law by passing with a majority vote in both houses of Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, and then being signed or approved by the president. Now, laws are continually being debated and voted upon. And the way I describe the difference between a law and amendment is a law is like a stream of water. Over time, it flows and changes course. And if I were to throw a rock into a stream, it would change the course. And if I were to dig a ditch next to a stream, it would fill with water and again change the stream's course. All of these would take work, but it would not be an extreme amount of effort to get that done. On the other hand, an amendment is like a concrete path or sidewalk. If I wanted to change the course, I would have to get a jackhammer and bust it out and then pour new concrete, which would take a lot of work and a lot of effort. Two, I could use the concrete to build, say, a dam that could completely change the course of a stream of water or even block the water altogether. Likewise, an amendment is difficult to get added to the Constitution, but once it's added, it can block and shape laws that are proposed. So in all of US history, the Constitution has only been amended 27 times. And actually, the first 10 of those amendments, the Bill of Rights, were all adopted at one time. Now, how do you amend the Constitution of the United States? There's actually two different methods laid out in the document. However, only one method has ever been used in all of US history. The main method includes the following. First, the amendment is introduced in Congress and must get a supermajority, or in other words, a 2/3 majority vote in both houses. From there, the amendment is sent to the states to be debated by each state's individual legislatures. In the state legislatures, they must vote. And if 3/4 of the states vote in favor of the amendment is then added to the Constitution. So again, the numbers to remember here is 2/3 of Congress in favor of it and 3/4 of the states for the amendment to pass. Now notice that the president has nothing to do with this entire process. It's purely the legislative branch and the states. So like I said, this is the only method that has ever actually been used to amend the Constitution. However, the founders were concerned about the federal government having too much power, so they also wrote in, I guess you could say, a backdoor method to get an amendment added. In this alternate method, 2/3 of the states have to call for a constitutional convention for an amendment to be introduced. The introduced amendment then has to be voted on, and 3/4 of those states that called for the conventions must approve the amendment for it to be added to the Constitution. So the numbers to remember here is 2/3 of the states call for a convention, and then 3/4 of the states approve the amendment. Note, with this method, the federal government plays no role whatsoever. This was a loophole purposely put in by the founders so that the states had some power to change the federal government in case they felt the federal government became too powerful or was abusing their power. And as I mentioned before, amending the Constitution is not an easy process. In fact, it's so difficult it hasn't happened in the United States since 1992 with the 27th Amendment. That's over 25 years ago. So when and if you hear talk of amending the Constitution, be sure to take note, as it's something that does not happen very often. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.
Thought he did a good little rundown. What'd you think?
So for you all who are not good at math, like me, that would be 33 states required to approve in the approve in a constitutional convention or convention of states, and then 35 states to approve the amendment if you were going in the Article 5.
I think it's 38.
Is that for you talking about for the 3/4?
Yeah, for the 3/4 it's 38, and also I'm confused as to whether or not it's 33 or 34 for the 2/3.
It's
33 for this. So you got to round up for the 3/4, right, to 38. and then for
Okay.
the 2/3, it's 33.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was 33 or 34.
It's really hard.
It's hard either way, right? And it's
Yeah.
supposed to be that way because you don't just want to amend the Constitution willy nilly.
I forgot we added Alaska and Hawaii. Sorry about
Don't forget them. So, there was some talk of like the Convention of States and things like that, especially when we were still halfway through the Biden administration. Um, I'd be curious if that's still the plight of that organization. If they're still kind of moving forward with that, or if having a different regime in there makes a difference.
that. No, they're still moving forward with it.
What are they? Did we ever find out what it is that they wanted to amend?
For the Convention of States. Yeah,
Yes.
it's one of it is the 16th Amendment, fiscal responsibility, and to limit the Senate, whatever. Hold on, I can.
Well, they need to repeal the 17th Amendment. That's number one.
Yeah, I don't think we need to amend anything. I think we need to repeal for sure.
Need to repeal the 16th
Yeah, the
too.
16th. Did I say the wrong number?
16th, the 17th, and then they need to
16th is the tax, right? And
Yes.
so 17th is the one with
they need to pass an amendment that says if there's less than 25% of voter turnout, they have to rehold the elections.
I like that.
Well, see, that's the Convention of States. See, they have to decide. The states have to come together and decide as a majority which amendments they're going to do. And there's a few different organizations out there.
Yeah, seriously though. I mean, if they had an amendment that said that if 25% of the people don't show up to vote, that they had to redo the election.
Oh my God, they'd be spending all their time doing elections.
No, people would actually have to get off their ass and go vote, or it'd be perpetual elections.
I think we should just have a fine.
No, you can't fine people. This is America, Jack.
Yeah, come on now.
Hey Kim, at least under that modus operandi, we could all say, hey, we're just here voting so we don't get fined.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, the fine is inflation. If you don't get the right people in office, you're
The
definitely
fine
going
is
to
a
get
total
fined.
shit
Fined
show.
for your freedom, fined from your liberty, fined for all that stuff. So yeah, if people don't step up, they definitely do get fined, essentially and eventually.
Well, and I want to get into the 6th and the 7th here in a second, but I want to know what everybody on the stage's opinion is of the 21 million people that are living in this country with Social Security numbers that are over 100 years old. Have you met anybody?
I don't know, just find me the two that are over 160. I'll be fine with that. Start there.
360.
Or 360, I'm sorry. I was giving them a 200 leg up. They're older than the country, for God's sake.
Hey Kim, maybe we have if they were born on Mars and they were Martians. I don't know.
Well, I think it's going to be real interesting when they start tracing back those Social Security numbers.
Hey, you guys, I don't remember where I heard this because I hear so much stuff, but there was more about the Social Security, and it doesn't have a sales or fee. There's no way to know if the numbers are duplicated. So like for instance, the border, they get one Social Security number and they duplicate it like 10,000 times. That money, whoever gets the Social Security goes to them, but all the other of it goes to the slush fund. There's like thousands of numbers.
It's terrible. And I mean, again, this is how they've been paying these people.
It's also how they've been trafficking them too. How the cartels have been able to get away with that, but I won't say anything else about that.
I mean, it's sort of like a, like a prison camp number. That's what it's turned into.
Yep, modern day slavery.
You know, you make a great point there with the social security number. SS, you know.
Yep.
What does that resemble? SS?
Man, that's messed up.
Just for
All right, so
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I was
Go
just
ahead,
going to
Kelly.
say for FYI that so far that 19 states have passed the Convention of States resolution. 6 have passed one chamber, 15 have active legislation, and 10 states have taken no action.
You know, I was, on board with the convention of states when I first heard about it, but like as I've been heard people argue and what's the downfalls and the possible things that could happen with a runaway convention. It's too risky in my opinion. I don't know, but yeah, it can open a can of worms. I don't know.
You can't have
Give me your
run-
feedback, Matt. Don't give me just thumbs down. I want to hear from you, brother.
well, the thing I would say, my counter to that would be, if that's the reason for not doing it, forget it. We're toast. If you're concerned at this point about a runaway convention that would presumably happen from people who already want to tear this thing down, forget it.
Excellent point. Point taken.
Mr. Philby,
I'll thumbs you
had
up,
something.
though.
You had to say something about that, didn't you? Mr. Philby.
about what?
You came off mic. You were going to say something about the convention.
Yeah,
of
there's
states.
you can't have a runaway convention because the convention's set up with rules. As long as you have rules, then they can't do that. Plus, you have to have all these states go along with whatever it is that they agree to or propose. So if they come up with some off the wall garbage like we're going to amend the Second Amendment to say that only hunting arms or rifles are considered arms. Nobody's going to go along with that. They're going to get laughed the hell out of there. It's we're going to amend the Constitution to move our territorial waters out 700 miles. Well, do you think that Bermuda and some of these other island nations are going to be really happy about that? No, because see, they have sovereign territory. They're located out in the Atlantic, and Mexico is 700 miles away. We're not going to take Cuba, as a refugee camp, although we've got a refugee camp there right now.
It might swim across the Gulf of America, though. Who knows? Melinda, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. There's a man that we love here in Tucson who's he's adamant that we must have a convention. But my concern is that someone mentioned in the beginning of this talk that if people believed that there was too much power in one person's hands, i.e., President Trump, that this would be a great opportunity for George Soros and anyone who survived a cutting of the AID, and for Europeans and for communists in our country to get the money together to buy out states. And how it would be difficult, but money money speaks. So what about that end of it? If I mean, George Soros bought radio stations during the election. So I'm just throwing that question out because I don't know.
Well, the people of the state, they first have to put that to pass with the people in the states and put it to vote. And they specifically say, like, for instance, gun control. Gavin Newsom, he proposed the 28th Amendment to address gun control. And I won't go into details about that. But the people voted for it and he put in the application for it. But so first off, it has to go by the people, but then it'd be really hard to buy out. I know you're concerned, but it says it's coming from the people. Now, if you have the majority of the states, if they're run by Democrat, governors or whatever, that could be a problem, right? On that. But I don't see a problem with George Soros, like you're talking about.
Yeah, I
Well,
think that
I'm from Tucson, and George Soros runs this city. He runs the county attorney's office. He runs the voting. Um, this is a communist enclave in a
not for
very.
long.
Well,
I hope you're right.
I asked our good friend Grok 3.0, new and improved. What are some of the potential risks to a convention of states in the USA? If you want me to read through that, Kim, I can. They do
Go for
cover
it.
some. Okay, cool. Convention of States, COS, in the United States, as proposed under Article 5 of the Constitution, would allow states to convene to propose amendments to the U.S. Constitution. While supporters argue it's a way to address federal overreach or enact reforms, critics highlight several potential risks. Here's a breakdown of some key concerns. Runaway convention risk. One of the most debated risks is that a convention could exceed its intended scope, although a COS is called for a specific purpose, e.g., limiting federal power, example. There is no clear constitutional mechanism to enforce those limits once convened. Historical precedent like 1787 Constitutional Convention, which ditched the Articles of Confederation entirely, fears that delegates might rewrite the Constitution in unpredictable ways. Political polarization and gridlock. In today's hyper-partisan climate, a convention could become a battleground for competing ideologies. Instead of consensus, it might deepen divisions, with delegates pushing extreme or conflicting amendments, example on abortion, gun rights, or fiscal policy. The results could be stalemate or worse, amendments that alienate large swaths of population. Influence of special interests, which are what you're talking about here. Convention could attract heavy lobbying from corporations, advocacy groups, and wealthy individuals. Delegates who aren't necessarily elected officials might be swayed by money or pressure, leading to amendments that favor narrow interests over the public good. Think tax loopholes or deregulation pushed by big donors. We like deregulation as regular Americans. Ambiguity in the process. Article 5 is vague on logistics, how delegates are chosen, how many per state, voting rules, one state, one vote, or proportional, and ratification process. This uncertainty could lead to legal disputes, power struggles, or unequal representation, undermining legitimacy. For example, small states dominate, like in the Senate, or would populous states demand more sway? Question mark. So that's the question that it proposes. For example, would small states dominate, like in the Senate, or would populous states demand more sway? So that's a question there. that it proposes. Risks to established rights. Critics worry that a convention could undo cherished protections like those in the Bill of Rights, even if unintended, a poorly worded amendment or a shift in the constitutional framework might weaken free speech, privacy, or equality under the law, especially if delegates prioritize populist or reactionary agendas. Economic and social instability. We got two more things here it's going to cover. Economic and social instability. Major constitutional changes could spook markets, dispute governance, or spark public unrest. For instance, an amendment imposing strict fiscal limits might trigger immediate budget crises, while one addressing cultural issues could inflame social tensions. The uncertainty alone might erode confidence in the U.S. institutions. State and state inequality and power shifts. If 34 states call a convention the threshold, and the other 16 could be sidelined, especially if they're politically or regionally distinct. Amendments might favor the interests of the calling states, say rural conservative ones or urban progressive ones, exacerbating national divides. Proponents argue these risks are overstated, pointing to ratification safeguards. 38 states must approve amendments and the ability to set clear convention rules. They see a COS as a democratic tool to fix a broken system. Critics, though, stress that once the genie is out of the bottle, controlling it isn't guaranteed. What's your take? Okay. What's your take? Do you think these risks outweigh the potential benefits in
I want to get Jen's take.
rolling the dice? So
she loves talking about this.
So that's
I was gonna say I might have like perfect timing, although I did not plan this. I was coming in and probably gonna derail shit. But I think it's like founding fathers time I got right now. Just saying. Um, if you don't see how they set us up, that if we did try to do a constitutional convention, they had all the judges and the prosecutors in place in order to step in and take over. And guess what? We have now just lost our country because they have more power than we did at the time when people wanted to do this. So it would have been a runaway convention, and we probably would have given up all of our other constitutional rights if we tried this. So definitely not the time to do it. Maybe in a perfect world where we didn't have activist judges and people who work on the Democrat Party side in order to take our rights away, like, I don't know, the Second Amendment. I don't think it's the time. However, I got something and I'll have more on it tomorrow. But so New York State right now, so I have a lot of friends in New York State that are prison guards because it's like a very like popular like way people make their living in New York. Anyways, the prisons are in absolute disarray. There are so many overdoses going on in the prisons. And because of the way fentanyl is, now the prison guards are starting to overdose. And the conditions have gotten so bad that two prisons yesterday did an unsanctioned strike and 10 other prison guards, including a friend of mine, ended up in the emergency room because they contacted an unknown substance in the prison, and they're all real sick. So I'm going to help these prison guards out because this is absolute bullshit that they're risking their lives going to work every day. And nothing's being done about it. Kathy Hochul's not doing anything about it. And the fact that these guys are doing an unsanctioned strike is like so unheard of and only done in the most extreme cases. But apparently, from what I've heard, there's going to be more prisons that are going to be joining the strike tomorrow. So I'm gonna jump on the phone with one of the guys and see what's up. But I'm going to need someone to write up a story because we need to get this story out because no one knows about it, and obviously no one's covering it because it's unsanctioned. And also, I'm going to try to get them into a space, even if it's on an anonymous account, because, like, obviously, we don't want people getting backlashed, right, for talking to the media. But I'm going to try to get some of the guys, or at least like the leader of who's doing this strike, into a space to try to get some help for these guys because like they are like 100% putting their lives at 100% risk right now.
Well, Jennifer
And Kathy Hochul's doing nothing about it.
Jennifer, Mike, Carbon Mike, remember the guy that got, he got put in prison in New York for the gun thing? Yeah, he's gonna be joining Joe and Lou's space tonight. I think at 9 o'clock or something. I could check on that, but I'll jump in that space and talk to Dexter. I want to check on him, and I'll ask about that specific topic. So if you have any questions, I'm gonna ask him. I could definitely just text me.
Yeah, so this is two prisons that are upstate right now, so I don't know like if they would know about it. Because obviously like this is like for the unions to do an unsanctioned strike, right? And this isn't even like with help. Like the guys were like, we're no longer working in these conditions. Like we're not doing this. We're on strike. And they're literally taking like plywood and using spray paint to like write strike on the thing so people know they're striking.
I mean, what does that look like? What happens with the prisoners when the guards go on strike?
Mayhem.
Well, that's the question. But also, like, why, first of all, these prisoners are in jail. How are they getting drugs? Where's the fentanyl coming from?
I think the fentanyl is all a product of the government, and that because drug dealers don't want to kill their clientele. So I don't think it's the drug dealers. I think it's the government.
China.
Yeah.
It's probably China working in conjunction with, again, I don't know necessarily if it's the cartels as much as it's our government.
Hate to tell you this, but you can get anything you want in prison if you got enough peedy weedy.
Yeah, didn't you watch the Shawshank Redemption?
Obviously, but
prison guards sneak it in. And...
Guys, this is rhetorical. Obviously, you can get drugs in prison, okay? But you know what? You're not supposed to. Right? Like, according to the law, you're probably in jail for doing drugs. Now, my cousin who died of fentanyl, right? He was in jail. And I know damn well he probably did drugs in jail, right? So, like, I'm not dumb, but like, why are we locking people up on the government's dime if they're just going to do drugs in jail? Why do these prison guards who have little kids at home have to worry about like doing their job because they might come in contact with a dust particle of fentanyl and die? Right? Like, why is this okay?
I mean, I never even thought about that, Jen, but I bet you there are this is probably going on all over the place.
100%. Because think about Brian Colfash. Think about how much, like I'm sitting there talking to Abby the other night because she was listening to like me talk about Brian. And I look at her, I'm like, I spent a lot of time getting people out of jail, don't I? And it's true. And why is that? Because our prison system is out of freaking control.
Yeah, no, it's got a
right. Like this is ridiculous.
It is so corrupt and needs major reform.
Right. And listen, I'm not on the side of the prison guards anyways. Like, listen, like there's a lot of problems there too. But they don't deserve to go to like work every day and have to worry about dying because these prisoners who are supposed to be off the streets, right, not doing drugs, getting rehabilitated, are in jail overdosing and dying, and prison guards are getting sick and having to go to the hospital on the taxpayer's dollar. For what? Because you won't do prison reform?
Well, I think that there's so much incentive. they basically incentivized incarceration.
But you know what shocked me, honestly, and I don't know why this shocked me, right? Like nothing really shocked me, but this did shock me. When I found out that all these rap labels, right? All of these like freaking I don't even know the name of the rap houses, right? Like that put out the rap music.
Death Row
They
Records.
signed Death Row Records, right? They signed an agreement with the private prison industry that they would keep their lyrics freaking ghetto as fuck. So they would people would Avi, you're listening to rap music. I freaking love rap music, right? But guess what? The lyrics, they're real fucked up, right? And they did that on purpose because they knew the people listening would want to be rappers, would want to live that lifestyle. So they signed a deal that they would keep their lyrics freaking ghetto as fuck in order for the private prison industry to keep the clientele flowing through.
Jennifer, Rick Ross, you know that big black dude, Rick Ross, the rapper? He was a corrections officer. And then he went into rap.
Right? So like you wonder why there's an issue. Right? So honestly, like the black population in this country has been targeted. And no one wants to talk about it. Right? But now that it's coming to the white populations and now we're getting targeted, now I guess we need to talk about it, right? But everybody's been yelling about this for years. Our prison system has more prisoners in it than most third world countries. Why do we have so many people in
I
prison?
think it's the most in the world per capita.
I didn't know that exact fact. I didn't want
I'll-
someone
I'll
jumping down my
cross-check it,
throat because
though.
I got it wrong.
But I
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
the
But
correct.
like,
That is correct. We have more incarcerated than any other country in the world, per capita. And yeah, no, and again, it's because it's been incentivized. As soon as you make it lucrative, it's going to get corrupted.
All right.
well, no, it's not that it's just incentivized, right? Chris, I'll let you go in 1 second. I just want to add this. It's not that it's just incentivized, right? And I yell about this all the time because I think of my cousin, right? He'd probably still be alive today if this wasn't the deal. Okay, but you get a felony, right? You get a felony on your record. You go to jail. You're like, all right, got 10 years. I'll serve my time. I'll get out. You get out, you are labeled, you are stigmatized, you are ostracized from society. You can work in landscaping, you can work in very select industries if you can even find a job, right? They don't want you to be able to find a job because you know what? You're more lucrative to them in prison than you are outside. And to the person who committed the crime, who did their time, who got out, they have no life, right? Most of the time their parents and family don't want nothing to do with them because they're a prisoner, right? They got a felony charge, right? Now, were they a product, like a victim of the justice system? Maybe they really did commit the crime, but you know what? They did their time. Why do we not let people enter society and actually get back to a normal life where they could actually get a job if they did their time? Right? Like, this is why there's high recidivism in this country, is because once you do your time, you're never free. You're marked an individual for the rest of your life. Right? You can't go out and get a job. You can't support your family, and you probably got kids. So you got baby mama drama. Baby mama drama. So what are you gonna do? Probably revert back to the shit that makes you a lot of money, whether it's right or wrong. But if normal society will not let you like function, what else are you going to do to survive? Like, why do we make it so hard for people in this country? Why do we lock up people for 10 and 20 years for non-violent drug offenses? Right? Like, there is a problem. And if we keep ignoring it, right, it might not affect you now, but it is going to affect you because they're not going to stop trying to take over. You've seen the fraud, you've seen the crimes that they've committed and gotten away with it. Meanwhile, they're locking you up if you don't pay $5 on your taxes.
Well, and you get the
right. There's something wrong with this system. There is something wrong with our system, and we need to demand justice, and we need to demand transparency, and we need to demand that the system gets fixed.
Well,
Well,
absolutely.
quick correction, Kim, real quick. It's second. It ranks second in the world as far as per capita. El Salvador is #1. So I just wanted to state that correction there. But regardless,
is El Salvador considered a first world country?
Don't think
No,
so.
it's not.
But yeah, Jennifer makes a great point there. You know, it's a prison industrial complex, just like the medical industrial complex, just like every other industrial complex. They don't get paid. These prisons, they build them and you got to fill them. You don't get paid by the state as a, and these could be privately owned, you know, facilities as well. And that's where you put out quotas to make sure you go pull people over, you know, all that stuff for
Well, don't forget the
speeding
war
and
on
then
drugs.
add-on tickets. So, and the recidivism is very true. But the one thing I did notice is Cheney Company supplies a lot of these prisons with food and toothbrushes and stuff like that, and that's kind of, I find that very interesting. You know, Dick Cheney.
No, because our politicians all own parts of the private prison industry. Right? The people who are making the laws are benefiting on the backside.
And if you
This money that you see is missing and all of this, wait till they do the prison industry.
Oh yeah, and it's like if they have empty beds, that means they're not bringing in money, so they got to fill those beds. So you put out the quotas, like I was saying, and then you go find people. You know, go
We're
find.
gonna fill the beds with the politicians.
Oh yeah.
I want to get to Matt and then to Southern Belle. Go ahead, Matt.
But then there would be no then there'd be nobody to run for office because you would first have to arrest the politicians and then you would have to arrest all the people blackmailing them. So like you literally you would have no problem filling the prison up under those circumstances. But Jen's absolutely correct. This has been a problem for some time. I don't know how far it goes back, but yeah, you look at that and it's like, why? And the only feasible answer is because they want to keep a certain population in this vicious cycle of, and then they want to keep them going back to prison. So it's not even the fact that, and I know we're getting off topic here, but so it's not just the fact that we have a high prison population. It's the recidivism rate too. How many of those people who get out will want to go back to prison because of that? And by the way, that's also not even to mention, not that they'll go back, they obviously won't, but the J6ers, how many of those are felons now, and they're going to be fighting in their respective states to be able to get their rights back.
No, when you get pardoned, I think your record gets expunged.
Not necessarily. Not my understanding.
Not if they brought state charges.
So
Which-
there's
right.
different pardons. There's state and federal pardons.
Well, listen, the point is all right, let's not even get on January 6th, right? But the only reason they're able to get bank accounts and live normal lives is because Old Glory is letting them, right? If not, these J6ers would be getting out, no way to get a bank account. Completely screwed. What would they do? I'm not saying it's right, but you have to look at the reality of the situation. And when people are desperate, they do stupid things.
So Kim, that was the what article were we doing, or what we were doing the last three, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And we did Article 5. So what's 6? So what are 6 and 7?
6 is the Supremacy Clause and 7 is ratification. So
hey guys.
Hey Southern, go ahead and then I'll get to the rest of this thing.
Jennifer, I was just doing some research because I remember back in 2001, we had a massive spike in prison fatalities because of opium drugs. 600% increase. Do you know that some of the prisons are not even reporting their stats? It's like Los Angeles doesn't report their crime stats. But this is a big problem. California, New York. Wow.
I
Do
mean,
you
it
know
should
how
be
No,
illegal
like
for you to
they
not report your
literally.
stats. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous.
they do?
Hold on, I'm gonna pull up the Facebook thing that I saw, and there a lot of them don't know how to use X, right? Like a lot of like people don't really know how to use X. So I was like, guys, you need to get this out on X. No one knows this is happening.
Do you know how-
Elon needs
do
to
you-
make a big commercial for X and like flood the television, like YouTube, all that. He needs to put something out like about it. Like there's no advertisement for it. It's only word of mouth. I mean, at some point, we need a little help here.
Do you know how they're getting this in the prisons? This is so bizarre. Drug laced paper from their lawyer, visitor concealment, staff involvement. They've got contractors in there, kitchen staff, the guards. Then you've got inmates that are doing work release, and then they call throwovers, like a tennis ball or a dead bird into the
Yeah.
exercise yard. They're pretty
Oh,
damn creative.
I mean, back in the day, they used to put a microdot on the back of a stamp
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
lick around the edges, right?
Yeah.
And then, then what happened is the prison started tearing the stamps off the envelopes because before they gave them to the prisoner, and then the fucking guards were all high.
Oh my God. But homemade goods, I can't believe somebody lets homemade goods come in. Oh, vending machines, they mix it in there. The vending machine people, they come in and refill. They put some special stuff in there and they know where it's at and that's what they get. But but Jennifer's bringing a really good point. I saw some of the pictures of the J6. They were living in unsafe conditions. I have big allergies with mold, and I know how to look for mold. They were in moldy cells.
All right, we're Southern. We're not going to go. I want to finish.
I know,
Let me
I
just
know.
finish these couple articles,
Sure.
Jen. Let guys with your hands up. Is it something to do with the prison stuff or? Yeah.
Okay, Jen's leaving.
Oh,
Bye.
really? You're just gonna come up here and blow up my room
Jen.
and then just take off? You got
Jen,
some
hold
balls.
on before you leave. I wanted to talk to you. American, I wanted to answer some of the questions I posted up in the nest up there that a lot of the fentanyl, evidently, intelligence has.
Okay, hold on. We're not going into fentanyl right now.
Okay.
Kim needs to bring it back. I'm bad.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say, as far as the prison sentences, we are actually I'm working on that with some judges and attorneys and counselors and legislators in North Carolina right now to try to work on the drug offenses instead of actually doing jail time, to actually get them help and offer, a trade.
There's an idea. Rehab.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Rehabilitation.
yeah,
Exactly.
with my foundation that I started in honor of my son, it's V-VII Foundation, and we're working on getting the website and everything started. That's what I've been working on.
Well, I think
year.
that, one of the big things, especially with moving manufacturing back into this country, we are going to need our able-bodied young people who are all strung out on drugs. So I think that prison reform and bringing in skills that they can learn while they're being rehabilitated, giving them
Let's keep it minimal here, so we can get back to the topic. We have two more hands that we could hit up quick if you guys keep it short, and then we could go back to the civics here. Is that okay, Kim? If you want to wrap that up, Deborah, I appreciate it, and you go right ahead, and then we'll go on to the next person.
Here's the thing: is the treatment centers are not up to par either, because the insurance companies are making it revolving doors. So what we want to do is investigate and find good quality facilities that have 2-year programs, because if they're on heroin or fentanyl, they need a good 2-year clean. But we also want to make the law so that the family can have a say, so they can't go in and, blow smoke up a counselor's butt or the
Yeah,
judge's butt.
I
And
got you,
so
Deborah.
that's the stuff we're working
Deborah, hit
on
me
right
up.
now.
Follow me. I'll follow you back. I do have a friend. You said you're in North Carolina. I think my
Yes.
friend runs his rehabilitation center. He's like really, really good Christian man. I've known him for a long time, and I'll definitely try to hook you up with him. He's a good guy. His name's
Yes.
Carl.
Okay, please do that, because
do
we're
that.
going to be going to these facilities all over the country.
Sounds
and
good.
I'm going to be working with every state house all
Well,
over
thank
the
you.
country to do this. Thank
Yep,
you.
I gave you a follow, Deborah. Just give me a follow back, and I'll DM you and give you that information for my buddy Carl. All right.
All right, let's
who
go
was
to
the next
Ash,
hand?
and then we'll go to John.
Okay, sounds good.
Can you hear me okay?
Try to keep it
Yeah.
short, guys, and precise if you can. Thank you. Go
Uh,
ahead, Ashley.
I'm an ex-criminal. I was charged during COVID, was a rough time. Anyway, so I was charged with second-degree felony, and I had the option to do here in Missouri. They have like drug court programs all over the state. So I had that opportunity to do drug court, and I was given probation for like 5 years, but I was able to graduate drug court violation free, and then they were able to drop me from probation within 2 years, and then now I'm no longer a felon, and then I became a peer specialist to help with like recovery. So I think I don't know what it's like all over the country. I just do know here in Missouri, they do have a lot of these drug court programs, and specifically where I am, they try to keep you out of prison as much as they can. So what I heard back in like 2022, Missouri was like they had the highest percentage of women incarcerations out of the entire country. So they're making more and more groups for women to be involved for like recovery afterwards. So I had a felony B, a hardcore charge, and was able to get out of that and have that felony dropped and be able to kind of get back into that workforce. So I don't know. I guess I hope that there are more things like that going out throughout the country, because they're starting to realize that incarceration doesn't really heal drug addicts or non-violent criminals. So I don't know. I think I just wanted to say, out for an example, that I think that they are trying to kind of help some folks.
Okay, hold on. My point was supposed to be quick. If your hand is up because you want to talk about prison stuff, not happening. Kim is going back to what she regularly scheduled programs, people. Okay, no more.
That's okay.
questions
I just
about
wanted to
prisons.
mention that's
Yep.
pretty much all.
Thank you, Ashley. And yes, I mean, I think that there are some great examples, and there's some not so great examples. So
Congratulations for pushing through there.
Thank you.
all right, so I want to get to real quick. We're going to do Article 6, Article 7. I do want to shut down by 9 o'clock tonight because I do want to go over to Judge and Dana's space, and we just don't need to do this for more than 2 hours. All right, so I'm going to play this video. Actually, yeah, I'll play this and then I'll read it.
Hello, welcome to the Daily Bell Ringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. Also, don't forget to check out the worksheet in the description that goes along with this video, available at dailybellringer.com. In the previous articles of the United States Constitution, we saw how the first 3 articles provide the framework for the U.S. government, establishing 3 different branches of government. Then Article 4, defining state relationships. Article 5, describing the process of amending or adding or making changes to the Constitution. But now we are to the final 2 articles. Both of these articles are fairly simple and do not include any sections. Article 6 addresses the United States itself. Within here, there are a few important points. First, here in Article 6, it says the United States is going to take on all the debts and contracts that the United States entered into under the Articles of Confederation. Basically, the founders were saying this is our new constitution and government, but that doesn't mean we're ignoring agreements we made in the past, and this new government is going to take on the responsibilities that the government had under the Articles of Confederation. Also within Article 6, it establishes that the Constitution is the supreme law of the United States. So if there's ever a dispute over law, eventually that law will be judged against the Constitution. Remember, one of the primary functions of the judicial branch is to interpret the Constitution and to decide if laws are consistent with it. Then lastly, here in Article 6, it says that anyone taking a public office must say an oath swearing allegiance to the Constitution. So probably the first thing that might jump into your mind is the president being sworn in as President of the United States at an inauguration. But all public offices also have to take an oath. Congress will swear in new members of the House and Senate. At the local level, mayors will be sworn in and take an oath, or even city council or school board members must take an oath of office. Article 7, the final article, details the method of ratification of the Constitution. Ratification just simply means to formally approve or accept something. On September 17th, 1787, 39 of the 55 delegates at the Constitutional Convention signed the Constitution. However, this did not mean it now was the new supreme law of the land. Here in Article 7, they decided that copies of the Constitution would be sent to the 13 states at that time, and those individual state legislatures could read over it and decide whether or not to approve it. In Article 7, they established that in order for the new Constitution to go into effect, they needed 9 of the 13 states to approve it. This was not a sure thing by any means. Remember, there was still a lot of argument over the Constitution even after they had finished writing it. For one, many of the delegates argued that the Constitution gave too much power to the federal government and that more power should be given to the individual states. Related to this is the fact that the Constitution says nothing about political parties, yet this argument over who holds power gave birth to the Federalist and Anti-Federalist, which were basically the roots of the original political parties in America. This issue of who has more power would be a major argument that would honestly not be resolved until the American Civil War over 60 years later. Secondly, many of the states responded to the Constitution and argued that there needed to be a statement of basic rights of all Americans. Of course, these concerns were answered when one of the first orders of business for the new government, once it formed, was to add the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, known as the Bill of Rights. As I said, the delegates at the Constitutional Convention signed the document on September 17, 1787, which is what we now celebrate as Constitution Day. But then many of the delegates had to return to their home states and began to do basically a promotional tour, trying to convince their state to accept the Constitution. It wouldn't be until June 21st of 1788 that New Hampshire became the 9th state to approve the Constitution. It was then decided that the new constitution or government would officially go into effect on March 4th of 1789. That is over 230 years ago. And today, the United States Constitution is the oldest constitution still in effect in the world, which is truly a tribute to the ingenious system developed by the founders that allows the document to organize our government, but also allows it to be changed as time passes in order to better serve our nation. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for.
There we go. See, she'd have come in just 5 minutes later. I did not realize that it took them that long to get 9 of the states to sign on.
Excuse me? I wasn't finished with Article 5, that you all went off on this bizarre prison tangent.
You could blame Jen for that one. Go. You can talk about whatever of the 3 articles you want to.
So there was a mention made of governors earlier with regard to the Convention of States. The governors don't play a role. It's only the state legislatures. the people who are the representatives of the citizens, the duly elected representatives of the citizens that affect a constitutional convention and the uh, approval of amendments. So you can have a Democrat governor and a Republican
Isn't it delegates, Chris,
legislature,
that you'd have to appoint for that? Or
and the legislature is in charge of approving that resolution. The governor doesn't have any role in that. And to your point with respect to, well, how many delegates are going to be? Well, the most reasonable and logical method of determining that is you get as many representatives as you get in the Congress. So the incentive is if they're going to have a convention of states, the more states that participate, the better off they are. So, but if California and New York want to play grab ass and they don't want to participate, okay, that's a lot of potential delegates because California's got 58, 57, something like that, electoral votes.
58. Well, no, it's 55. 55 House districts, 2 senators, so 57.
Right. 57 delegates there, and then you've got New York has got what 29 or something like that. So that they don't get a say. They stay home. And the only say they get is voting on what passed. So there are a lot of checks and balances just built into that if you want to do it in a way that it adheres to the letter and the spirit of the core constitution. And you get into that, not to get ahead of ourselves here, but in the amendments, the especially the Bill of Rights, because the Bill of Rights doesn't really hold water without the core constitution.
Well, do you agree with what Jen was saying earlier about the corruption in the judicial that would have a severe impact?
Get a say.
I understand that, but with I think what she was saying was that the influence that would that you could have.
Well, you have there's nothing that says in the Convention of States that actually it's I believe that members of Congress are prohibited from participating in that convention. So that eliminates most of the corruption right there anyway.
Yeah, but some of the state legislatures are just as damn corrupt as the U.S.
Well, I'm not gonna deny that either. But if this whole thing is based on the possibility of corruption, then we might as well just chuck the whole thing and go back to being living under the King of England, and and start drinking tea again.
the proponents of the Convention of States argue that it's actually closer to the people because the U.S. Congress is not involved in it. And, it's the state legislatures which are way closer to you than your U.S. representative. So,
Yeah, right. So, if the people, I mean, the state legislatures are going to appoint the delegates. The same way as they used to appoint senators before the 17th Amendment.
well, I think they've done what, two or three mock conventions of states in recent years that you can go and watch. They're like 8 hours of fun.
Correct. Correct.
So I'm not saying that the Article 5 tab is the best way, but it at this point in time, because of the garbage that's become incalcitrated, become entrenched on Capitol Hill. We can't get a reasonable guarantee that the people who are members of Congress would be any better if you went through the regular congressional route. So I can tell you that there are many people in state legislatures that don't like their members of Congress. Anyway, so that's the only point that I had.
Well, do you have anything to say about the Supremacy Clause, Article 6?
Well, you have to. I mean, you can't just allow for the Constitution not to be enforceable.
One would argue that's what we saw for 4 years.
The whole point of the Constitution is to have a supreme law.
It is the supreme law of the land,
And so
where you stand on.
I mean, Article 6 really just codifies that. I mean, we're sitting here, flip back a couple of sections to Article 2, and we're having debates in the news media over the plain black and white language of that the executive rests in a president of the United States.
Oh my gosh, I have something to plug for you, Chris.
It's not a president of the United States that the media agrees with, or a president of the United States that half of the country doesn't like. It's a president of the United States. We just went through 4 years of having a dipshit president of the United States that we all had to suffer with, but he was a president of the United States.
We had to shut up and deal with it, I guess. Not essentially, but we didn't shut up, but like regardless,
Well, and that's because, great.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say the reason we're having that debate in the first place is because we're in an era where our opinion of what the Constitution says or means matters more than what the Constitution says for itself.
Well, plus you've got TDS, which is absolutely the most communicable disease that has been in our country in generations.
It's wicked, and I have I don't know if you saw this yet. I saw it yesterday, and I forgot to tell you about it. But I'm going to play this really quickly because this kind of touches on the Supremacy Clause, and it touches on the power of the president and just exactly what these fools are doing right now.
Democrats are not only violating the Logan Act and possibly committing treason, but they're admitting to it on national television.
I am here in Munich because I refuse to let Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Secretary Hegseth and others be the voice of America, Europe, and to the world. There is a group of us here that are engaged in diplomacy, are engaged in discussion.
You're not allowed to do that. Like, first of all, it's a violation of the Logan Act. Secondly, neither a private citizen nor a member of the United States government is allowed to engage in diplomacy with a foreign nation without the express permission of the executive branch. They're just not. They are not allowed to speak on behalf of the American people because it is the right of the executive branch to engage in diplomacy. They need to get the permission of the executive branch, which they very obviously didn't. So at a minimum, this is a violation of the Logan Act. But at its worst, this is treason. Very obvious treason.
I mean, can you believe the brass balls on these people to go over to Munich and sit there and try and be representative when they are not in government? Like, what are you doing?
They're trying to undermine the executive branch.
You had John Kerry going to Iran during the last Trump administration, lobbying Iran. Don't worry about it. Trump's not going to be president forever. Don't agree with anything. We are the people that you need, to depend on. And John Kerry, without his wife, okay, his wife, who is the widow of a real senator from Pennsylvania, not some made up bullshit sailboat senator from
he's still keeping her alive in the basement, isn't he?
From Massachusetts. It was her money that allowed him to run his campaigns. And this guy is so much of an asshole, okay, that he has a boat in Massachusetts, and he parks the son of a bitch in Rhode Island because he don't want to pay Massachusetts taxes.
Even worse and more egregious than that is General Milley's statement that's been, played over and over, where he said to Xi Jinping that he would warn him if America was going to attack them. Like, what? That is hands down, like, undermining the president, number one, and number two, treason.
Yeah, no, these people, like especially these people, need to go to jail. 100%. Do not pass go. Do not collect no more money from us and go to jail.
Here's the thing, though. Treason never prospers. What's the reason? When treason prospers, none dare call it treason.
Well, there's you got tyranny, and then you got treason. And I think
going behind the president's back, president of the United States is, pretty treasonous,
Oh, I agree.
He's commander in chief,
but the point
He's
is
in charge of the military.
Well,
right.
I mean,
You're undermining the commander in chief.
Correct, but the point is it wasn't called treason, and which ought to tell you how much treason there actually is.
Excellent point, Matt.
Stacy, did you want to say something? Because I know you unmiked.
I was going to say that, isn't that what they went after for, what's his name? Mike Flynn? Logan Act?
Oh, who could forget that?
Yeah, I think they got him all messed up.
These people are violating the Logan Act on national television. So, if we did want to push treason onto these people, we have way more than 2 witnesses.
Right?
You got a nation of witnesses.
Exactly.
We have a special award for these people.
Yes, we do.
And I'm not going to put it in the nest or down the pill.
Yeah. Don't put it into the ether, Chris.
Suffice to say that these people, these people
Need a plug?
need to feel fulfilled from within.
Careful.
Hey, don't give these people any more publicity at American Mission's expense.
Well, when I saw that yesterday, for some reason, it just really lit me up. I was so mad. I was like, just the brazenness of that is beyond.
Like they're untouchable.
All right. So Melinda's got her hand up. Let's do that.
Go ahead, Melinda.
Hi. You were talking about the Supremacy Clause. I live in Arizona. Our legislature is run by the judiciary. The Supreme Court does not go over to the Congress and propose law or sit on committees as they do. They sit on their hands when they're with Congress, and they keep their mouths shut. Our judiciary in Arizona has a lobbying wing that we pay for, maybe 150,000 a year. These lobbyists follow us around as we propose bills to our legislature. And every session, we propose the same bill. It's a jury bill for parents who lose their children to CPS without due process. And so we're saying in 60 days, if DCS or CPS can't make their case, can't prove their case against a parent, that we will let a jury decide. So the judges see the bill come up, and this bill has been sponsored by two senators and one rep. And each session, a little lobbyist chick goes over to the Senate and kills it. It passes through the House. It passes through all of the committees. But when it gets to the Senate, which is HHS, it's killed by a lobbyist. And I do a request for records, and I find the letter. Do not pass this bill. Do not, just don't do it. Judge so-and-so doesn't want it. Judge this, and then they give a whole slew of reasons. The Supremacy Clause is, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. And the supreme law of the land says we have three different branches of government, and that the judiciary, the only power that a judge has is to rule on a case that's in front of him, not to interfere in our relationship with our legislators.
Well, I think that we're going to find that our judicial branch is more rotten than our freaking legislative branch, honestly.
Oh, you brought up a good point. The judges, hold on, Melinda. I was just going to say, you brought up a good point. The judges are supposed to interpret the law and explain it to the jurors, and the jurors are to rule, right?
Right.
And then if the jurors, they come to a stalemate, so on and so forth, you have those instances, and then the case is reheard, and you have those, but the judge can't make the decision or overrule as well. But in certain cases where they think that the jury wasn't fairly, or they fairly ruled, or they had a bias, it wasn't beyond reasonable doubt, and that's where Judge O'Brown goes into some of the stuff. He was covering it like a couple weeks ago. Great space to listen into after this.
Judge O'Brown, his name is
Judge O'Brown. TV.
Okay, Joe, as in Joe Biden.
Judge,
No.
Judge
I wouldn't
Joe
compare
Brown.
the two, but definitely. It's at JJB.
Well, you
look that up.
Adam, can you please put the space up in the nest? Perfect. Yeah, because I'm definitely going to be heading over there.
I've been on watch in the courts for 33 years, and so I've watched.
Well, you've seen some stuff then.
Absolutely, and it's I say don't ever let a friend go to court alone. And so court watch is extremely important. And so, I was kicked off. My court watch page was kicked off of Facebook a long time ago. And then I lost I had a couple of other places where I was putting my findings, but we have a very small group, but we're out there. We're in the courts.
Consider
every single
creating a
week.
community here on X. It can really help you.
Well, I wouldn't know how to put a community together, but I think I
would.
was one of your spaces for 6 hours last week. Did you have a space that went for 6 hours?
Yes, sometimes we do
Saturday?
Okay. Oh, I was there. I hung in, and I learned a lot. And I would love to get to share this with people, to be in a courtroom, and a court, they'll give you admonitions, and they'll say you can't say anything about anybody, anything, and I'll say, well, I will not talk about the child. I won't give any identifying information about this child that you have, incarcerated in foster care here. I'm not going to talk about the child, but you all work for the government, and you are not entitled to privacy for the things that you do in this court. And then sometimes they kick me out. But as an advocate, as an ADA advocate, if they kick me out, then they're in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And any parent who loses their child to foster care, and any innocent parent, they're disabled. They have PTSD that's off the charts.
Well, I will tell you, I can't even imagine. I've actually had a situation where that was like a threat, and it made me want to talk about like a visceral reaction. I almost lost my mind. But I will say this: CPS, or whatever it's called,
It's called something different in every
yeah,
state
it's
for
Child
very
Protective Services,
for a
or
reason.
I think here it's Family Services. But that is become so corrupt. And I mean, they literally are like the Uber drivers for human trafficking, or child trafficking.
It's the biggest child trafficking organization. There may be 500,000 border children lost in the interior of this country.
Oh, and
But
there's
they-
500,000 of American children that are lost as well. So I mean,
no, millions.
Yeah.
Millions have disappeared. They're the ones who populated the basement in Epstein Island.
yeah, no, it's a real big problem. But
American
the good thing
children.
is that they are going to be auditing that. I mean, Elon has already said something about it. Robert Kennedy has said something about it, and Trump, he's on it because he has been all about these babies for a while.
We just need cash in. We need to confirm cash
Yep.
in.
Did he
and
get?
get-
Did he
start the
get?
wheels
Please,
rolling?
dear God, yes.
Did he make it out of
Tomorrow.
committee?
American. Who is speaking about CPS?
That's
My name
Melinda.
is Melinda Sherwin. My name is Melinda Sherwin.
Melinda, would you please contact me? I'm trying to help a family right now. that
Where
their
are they in
six-
North Carolina?
Yes,
Are they
and
being
their
attacked by
their
DCS?
6-month-old has been medically kidnapped.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, I do
So
this every day. That is,
please give me a follow.
I certainly will. I'm speaking to
Deborah.
Deborah.
Deborah. Yes, Deborah.
And would you send me a text, because I can't text you because you have a check mark and I don't. So would you please send me a DM? Because
I
I'd
will,
like
Deborah.
to send you my
Okay.
number and talk to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, once you
Yeah.
guys follow each other back, you should be able to DM each other and
Yeah.
coordinate.
Well, no, I
You could even
can't,
make a
Adam.
phone call on the text message there.
Yeah,
It's encrypted.
I can't. If we don't have a check mark, we can't send a message even if we follow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not right.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can change those
Process.
settings. You can change those settings to where only blue checks can DM you, or only or whatnot. But going back to the missing kids thing for a second, if you guys aren't following my friends over at Project Milk Carton, that's what they do. They use a database to put
I
out
really
that sort
want to
of.
talk to that guy because
Well, the other thing
um,
is, guys, is we're going to need to have some sort of support infrastructure for all of these children when we do find them.
well, we've been
Correct.
talking.
Well,
I have a group
there
of
are
nurses.
organizations that do that work, like what my friend Relentless Mikey does with Call to Rescue. So yeah, there's I know people.
How do
No,
they
right.
avoid? How do they avoid jurisdiction of DC of CPS?
So
Because they,
if you all want to see a graphic portrayal of what you're talking about on Fox Nation, there is a movie about uh, Wenatchee, Washington, the apple capital of the world, and it's called In the Valley of Sin.
okay.
It's about a 1994 police probe into a pedophile ring called the Circle, resulting in 43 parents being jailed and dozens of children being put into foster care. But none of it actually happened.
Like none of what actually happened.
It was a movie. It was a
Yeah, none of the crimes that these parents that were put into jail
Yeah.
for never existed.
the crimes never existed.
The police and
Okay.
the police and CPS
Fabricated
worked
the evidence.
together, fabricated evidence, and 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 there, what it came down to is a preacher came to town, and he was the only one that couldn't be bought out.
What was the point? Why were they doing that?
To take the
Oh,
children.
this is their operandi.
It was a pedophile ring.
Yeah.
That's how
And-
they take your children. They use CPS to take your children, and then instead of them going into the system, they get trafficked into another system.
Well, what you know that Putin in 2012, at the end of the Obama administration, ceased all fostering and adoptions of Russian children to Americans because they were being rehomed, i.e., trafficked, raped, and murdered. And he said, these Americans are sick, and no Russian children will be fostered or adopted to Americans any further. So he ended that in 2012. So I've been writing to everyone in Congress, in the Senate, in all the houses across the state, all the legislature across the United States. And I didn't get any responses at all, except from the Tea Party in California. I got a really good response from them, but they can't do anything. This is so deeply entrenched. In 1997, Hillary Clinton wrote the Adoptions and Safe Families Act, and that put a target on the head of every American child in the United States and closed a parent. That's why, Deborah, I need to talk to you right away with that newborn, because a parent only has 6 months from birth to 6-month ground under ASFA to do everything that DCS or CPS wants them to do. Otherwise, the state can adopt out your child. It's a 6-month ground.
Yeah,
I mean, kidnap.
Melinda,
Essentially.
I have contacted my state legislators.
Yes.
And they tried to give me a runaround, but I told them they were full of crap. I said, I've dealt with politics for 40 years.
Yep.
I said, you are oversight of all our state departments.
Absolutely.
I want an investigation started, and I want it started now. And so that's what we have going on. Plus, I've been dealing with the detective and the medical board and everything. But yeah, I've been getting politicians involved. So yeah, we do need to talk. But
And
it's crazy what's going
and
on.
Melinda,
Yeah.
we can help you, set up a community because I do think that that would be good for you. Here on X is it's a great place to reach people, and you can be really effective, especially if you build that community.
I would so appreciate that. I'm 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 aging very quickly, and I need to. I have a lot in my head over 33 years, and it needs to be. People need to know it. Need to know what's going on.
We have lots of
Melinda, there's
experience with aged
also
people.
This
Yeah.
is why I don't have
Melinda,
kids because I
Melinda,
honestly, if somebody came to kidnap my kids like that, I'm gonna mess some people up, you
I
know.
know,
And
and
that's
that
why
that would.
I would like because I wouldn't go with vaccines. I wouldn't do all these things, and just because of that, and if somebody came for my kids, I swear to God, I would put them in the ground, you know.
Melinda,
Yes.
there's also a program called Rescue the Fosters.
Yes, I know,
You need to.
Sylvia. I
Oh,
know
okay.
all of
Okay.
them. I know them all.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
they're
Yeah.
doing rescue. Yes, and
Okay.
and they're doing great work. And I do work one case at a time. We do get children back. There's one judge in the whole United States that I know. His name is Justice Bullock. He's on the Supreme Court of Arizona, and he said, if you do not challenge the underlying statutes for constitutionality in the lower court, and your lawyers will never let you do that. That's the problem. Parents cannot defend themselves. They do not. They can never state their case. They can never get their evidence
Right.
on the record.
Right.
But,
Right.
But
Okay. Well, DM me and I'll send you my number. I'd really like to speak with you.
absolutely, Deborah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
FYI, Elon Musk, when he bought Twitter, he brought in his top guys with sleeping bags and a mattress for him.
Mm-hmm.
And they went in to unwind the algorithms for child trafficking. What stunned them was one was inside the company, the algorithm was built inside the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said like, and they got it open and turned it over. I don't know if y'all remember this. Garland came out about taking down this big trafficking ring. That was what he got from Elon.
What?
So, yeah, he's about the kids, taking care of the kids.
I know.
Trump put his executive orders back in at the border, so children are protected. They're doing the rapid DNA testing, everything, so they can protect the children. Biden took it all down first day in office.
Well, and you
all of
saw
it.
that the Hyundai plant got busted with all of the child labor going on.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's not just
Yep.
sex.
Here in the
It's
US?
yeah, it's not just sex. It's also,
Yeah.
they're traffic
Child
them
labor,
for
yeah.
labor.
Work.
But
Yeah.
here in the U.S., they
But,
were doing that at the Hyundai plant.
Yep. In Alabama.
Mhm.
Some people got to go to jail or
But-
prison. I mean, prison.
But,
And
but the good news, but the good news is Trump and Elon are together, and they've had this conversation.
Yeah.
So there will be action from the
Well,
top.
it sounds like
Yes.
we need to do a prison space, and we also need to do a child protective services space, and get some more eyeballs or ears on this.
give
Oh, yes,
Brian
and
Mott a
the
holler,
prisons
see
are
if he'll
being
join
filled.
us.
The prisons are being filled with mothers of medically kidnapped children. They're medically fragile children. Mothers are being diagnosed and drugged and told that they have Munchausen's by proxy, which really doesn't really exist. It's one of the rarest conditions ever.
It's less than 1%.
Yes, and then but you'd be surprised at Phoenix Children's Hospital that does transitions. The number of parents who lose their children. We did a little survey one day. There were 20 parents or family members with their children at at Phoenix Children's Hospital. And my friend, who is a partner of mine, went around and asked every parent, "Were you accused of child abuse?" Every single parent in the waiting room that brought their children in for medical treatment, emergency medical treatment, where every one of them were accused of of um, of child abuse, of medical child abuse or neglect.
That is definitely a kidnapping ring, is what that is.
Yeah, and they take many. They take a. I mean, that's where most of my work.
That is the lowest of the
came
low.
from.
These parents are worried sick. Their children are sick, and they are at the hospital when they are at the most vulnerable point of their life. And these people are stealing their fucking children. I'm sorry, that makes me so goddamn
Yes.
mad.
American.
My mother would say,
American,
"I think
that-
you meant, oh darn, dear." No, but you didn't.
American.
Listen, you're
That's
absolutely
what-
right. You're absolutely
That's what
right.
I've been dealing with for 3 weeks now. This family, their daughter had hydrocephalus due to birth trauma, and they took it in, and it was in her medical notes, but the baby got flown. These people are serving in our military. Still, 10-year impeccable record, both in and out of the military. The husband also, and they're being charged with child abuse. And their baby was there. Her head was swelling, could die. And 2 days later, they were kicking them out of the critical care unit with their baby because of this one doctor. And she has done this in multiple states across the country.
Do you happen to
If
know
that
her
was-
name?
I do, and I was going to ask you who was the doctor you were talking about.
You guys want to
Who's
DM that to
the
each
right-
other?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Yes,
no
we're
worries,
sort
no
of
worries.
monopolizing here.
No,
All
no,
right.
not at all. You know, you guys are talking about important stuff here, and yeah, it definitely got my blood boiling.
Well, the point is that every day, I mean, this agency morphs. It works under a veil of secrecy, and parents do not understand that the privacy is to them. They get to decide whether they want to tell the press. The privacy of the case belongs to the parents, and they have a First Amendment right. And I'll tell you, I know civil rights lawyers who get millions of dollars for parents whose rights have been violated. And one of the best lawyers I know is Sean McMillan, friend of mine from California, and then another one by the name of Michael Moore. And I'd like to bring them in to a space.
We would
so
love
they
that.
can-
That would be amazing.
Yes. I mean, yes. And so Michael Moore just said that the confidentiality belongs to the parents. And if the parents want to waive confidentiality, it is their right. And so no one knows that. And parents are terrified, and legislators are terrified that they're going to violate some rule or policy of CPS. Well, that look, we've got the Supremacy Clause, right? That's what this started out with today.
I mean, we got the Supremacy Clause. We've got the freedom
We've
of
got
speech.
the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
We've got the 14th Amendment. We've got, I mean, the 14th Amendment protects us against the state.
Well,
No, it protects, yeah, against the states.
let's not forget, okay, that
Mhm.
that you also have state constitutions.
Right.
State constitutions that are not being adhered to.
Right.
State constitutions that are more powerful
They have to be.
than the federal constitution.
Exactly. In
And
the state of Arizona, it says that the right to a jury is inviolate. And the Seventh Amendment says it should be preserved. So inviolate is a much stronger word than to have a jury preserved,
yeah,
which is, yeah.
so these the problem that we all have here is we depend too much on federalism when we're trying to get things accomplished where we live. And the states are extremely powerful. The states have massive rights, and so do individuals, because the powers of the federal government are enumerated powers. They're not powers that are delivered from on high by God. They're given to the government by us, and they can be taken away by us.
Yes.
Enumerated.
People don't know that. They stand in front of a judge, and some caseworker tells a big lie about you, and they say you have to wait. You can't speak now, but you can never speak. They never give you a there's never a moment where you can get your evidence on the record. And it's and I would stand up and say, by what authority are you silencing this person? I'm an ADA advocate. They have terrible PTSD, and my job is to ask the victim, what do you want the judge to know? And I am by law, by Title II, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, I'm supposed to be sitting next to that person in the courtroom with my hand on their back and all the bullet points of what that individual wants the judge to know. And if you do not get that information to the court, in front of the court, on the record, when they steal your kid and terminate you as a parent, you cannot appeal. If you don't get that information on the court record, and they prevent you from doing it by design, that you cannot appeal your case, and you will lose your child forever. Nobody knows that. And every time they try to do it, you have to be very strong, and you have to insist.
Well, that's a big reason why we're doing these spaces, is so that we can learn. Not only are we doing, the U.S. Constitution and our founding documents, and we're going to do the Federalist and the Anti-Federalist, but we are going to do some of the key states. We'll start with ones that we all live in, and then we'll go from there. But we plan on doing all of it.
But there's this one thing I'd like to leave you with, is that every state has an overreaching, overbroad statute. In Arizona, it's ARS 8533, under which they can take your child for any reason, for no reason, or any reason. And because the judge has this far-reaching discretion. Well, they haven't gotten the memo yet that the Chevron doctrine is dead, and that this particular statute that they all use to terminate parents is unconstitutional on its face and in practice, and that has to be explained to the court. And you have to say, Your Honor, I object to being terminated by ARS 8533. And then there's a D and a B and a 1 and a C and a blah, blah, blah. And it all goes down. But the whole statute is unconstitutional. And you must make that argument, because when you get up to the appeals level, the judge will say, I can't help you. You didn't say this in the lower court. And so that's how they're set up.
Well, that's interesting because we talk a lot about what the fallout from the overturning of the Chevron deference. So that's really interesting that that's a piece of it as well. It makes sense.
Well, that Loper Bright, where those fishermen had to have visitation monitors with the fish on their boats, just like DCS. How you have to have a visitation monitor watching you with your kid. until you have exhausted all of their products that they want to sell you.
They
So
figured out a
visitation is
way to
nothing.
use. They figured out a way to use this agency to traffic the children, and this all. I mean, it's been going on for a long time. Don't get me wrong, but it seems
Oh,
to
yeah.
have gone on like overdrive with the Obama administration, and we all know why. I mean, there's three.
No, it was Hillary.
Well,
It
yeah,
was
but
Hillary.
yes, but I think it got really, really bad. So I think that
yeah.
you've got the three. You've got Diddy, you've got Epstein, and you've got Pizzagate. All three of which she was involved in. But I think that as we see these things come out, which and is another reason why it's like quit slow rolling this stuff and let us have it, because we can take it and we can fix it, but we have to have the information, and they've got to stop holding it. And that's all there is to it. They've got to release the information, because it's absolutely ridiculous that only one person has been convicted. Well, two people, but one of them is since deceased, allegedly. So we really have to do something to put the pressure on to get these things out there so that we can take care of it.
We have to give the parents tools. We have to send them in with. We have to get just say this victim of the courts has PTSD. They need an ADA sitting by their side, and if any government agency, including courts, has more than 50, I'll say, do you have more than 50 employees in this courthouse? And they'll say yes. And I said, well, you're in violation of Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and I'm going to file a grievance against you. So Arizona is on the hot seat with the DOJ for violating ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act law.
Well, luckily we've got Pam Bondi, and she is on the job. So I think that we're going to see some really wonderful things from her. The great thing about Pam is that she knows what's going on.
Well, the thing with Pam is that what's happening to children is happening to elders in the state of Florida more than anyone. They're kidnapping elders and harvesting their estates. And we tried to get in touch with Pam Bondi, and she kind of blew that off. So I'm waiting. I'm disappointed in her inaction when it came to human trafficking of elders into nursing homes.
Why are they taking the elders?
Because again, it's human trafficking. They take their organs.
Harvesting their estate.
Yeah, but they take their money. And they do pretty much everything they do with the kids with them.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's the same model, except with they're harvesting trillions of dollars of people's of elders. They take everything. They take their they take
and a
their
lot
savings,
of them work in.
They take their investments, and they take their. I mean, there was one woman who was delivering a pair of underwear in Nevada, and she finally got arrested. But only one guardian that I know of has been arrested and prosecuted. There's a movie. If any of you, it's called I Care a Lot. It's on Netflix. It's absolutely outrageous. But whoever produced that movie had this experience with their mother or their grandmother. And they can I can go into a room of elders and I can say, how many of you have a will? And most people will put their hand up. And then I'll say, how many of you have spent thousands and thousands of dollars on a trust? And maybe a third of the room will lift their hand. And I'd say, do you understand that you could find yourself in a court of law, or your daughter could go on a business trip. You could have a slip and fall. She would be calling and calling, but you would be seized out of your home into a hospital or into a nursing home, and they can take guardianship over you in 15 minutes. And that's happened to people. And then the daughter who has a close relationship with the mother would be calling and calling, and she's not there. And she would call the neighbors, and the neighbors would say, "We've knocked on her door. She's not there." The woman would get on the mother daughter would get on the airplane, come home, and get to the mother's house, and the locks would be changed, and she would call a locksmith. And then she would go into the house, and there'd be a card on the refrigerator. This is Mrs. Jones' guardian. Please, if you have any questions, call me. And the daughter calls this number, and she says, "Where is my mother?" And the guardian will say to you, "You abandoned your mother. I'll see you. There's a court hearing on Monday." And by that time, the guardian has control of your trusts, your will, your bank accounts, your real estate.
And a
your
lot of these
savings,
people actually
everything.
work at these facilities, so they are like
do.
they're really close to the their victims.
Right. So there's a lot of garbage going on in this country. We are one of the biggest human traffickers on earth.
We are
We
the
used to
biggest.
I used to say we used to make beautiful things in the United States, like tools and cars and refrigerators and washers that work forever. But when the deep state couldn't any longer tax us to death on our inventiveness as Americans and our ability to produce great goods, they discovered human trafficking. And that outweighed everything. Human trafficking is the biggest business.
Oh yeah, because they can do it.
on
They can
earth.
sell it 10 to 30 times a day.
Right.
It's not like drugs. It's like drugs. You sell them once, you're done. With humans, you
Yes.
can sell them over and over and over and over again. So,
Right.
all right, guys, listen. Sorry we kind of got off topic there for a bit, but I think that
I
this
did
is really,
pin that at the top.
yeah, it's
for
really
the
important.
space.
So we are heading over to Dana's space and Judge Joe Brown. I highly encourage everybody to go over there. It's always an interesting conversation. He's amazing. So you can look up above our heads. You'll see that it's up there. Appreciate everybody coming. And Chris, I'm going to let you go. And thank you for co-hosting, both Chris and Adam. Appreciate you guys. If you're not following America Mission, please follow us. If you can, go up there and subscribe. It's $2 a month. So it's less than half a cup of coffee at Starbucks, right, Mr. Philby?
That's what I heard, that some people would say less than half a hamburger, according to.
I'm gonna go and
I'm
join. Thank you so much. I'm looking for Deborah.
Yeah, Melinda, please add me and don't forget to DM me because I
You're
can't
talking. You're
DM.
talking. I'm looking for your little wob. There you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I've got you. Goodbye. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Melinda. And I sent you a DM too. So let's get together because I would love to do that CPS space and have those attorneys in there.
so
Absolutely, they're brilliant, and they share their winning work with us.
That's amazing.
They said their complaints, their everything, the things, the ones they lose, the ones they win, so that we can just take them, copy them, and make our own complaints. We're going to learn a lot.
Melinda,
It's
what
great.
states are they in? Melinda, what
Um,
states are they in?
Michael Garth Moore is in Tucson, and Sean McMillan is in San Diego, but he works in Arizona.
And Melinda, that's Southern speaking, so give her a follow definitely as well, and I'm sure she'll follow you, but right back. That way you guys could definitely network.
Yeah.
That's what's great about these spaces. People can network and get to know each other, and we form stronger coalitions to beat down
Absolutely.
this demonic people that are around us in this world.
Well, we got
I
to
spent
protect
6
those
hours
babies.
with you last week, and I thought, I couldn't hang up. I was so exhausted at the end. But I
Well,
thought,
stick around. We all cut our cable.
Yeah. So
Adam, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. All of you, American, Adam, Chris, Melinda Southern, everybody.
I don't feel so alone now. Thank you.
so
I just want, go ahead.
I'm
Sorry.
going
Go
to
ahead,
drop
Chris.
a little bomb. The Affordable Care Act. What is the most searched page on the Affordable Care Act on the website?
Abortion?
Childbirths.
so not to take away from that, but
Yeah, they're looking for kids. Yeah.
we do have subscriber spaces now on Sundays to be announced. And we also have a website, americamission.com. Please don't forget to visit that. Lots of great content there. And we also have a couple of stores, an apparel store and a tchotchke store. And you can get all sorts of things that help support America Mission. And before we go, our backbone of everything we are, Kelly, is got her hand up and can't collect her.
I'll get even with you. No, well, thank you for that introduction. No, I didn't mention this at the beginning, just to remind people that we do stream most of our scheduled spaces. We stream it out to X Live, Rumble, Pilled, Kick. I'm a little aggravated with Kick right now, but we're still doing Kick, YouTube, and QUX TV. And you can always go back. If you can't get on X, you can go on any of our channels except for QX TV. They don't save them, and replay the space. And you've got video there too. So you got something to look at. So that was it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We're gonna get wrapped up here, so everyone head on over to Dana, the real Dana, which is up top of it's right above our heads in the overhead projector, the nest, whatever you want to call
That
it.
space closed.
And
They restart.
thank you very much for joining us here at America Mission. We have weekly spaces for civics, so be definitely sure to tune in if you're interested in the civic spaces. And we have spaces pretty much every day of the week, so put your notifications on. Except for Friday, I think we don't have space on Friday, but we could work on that. But yeah, definitely put your notifications on. And Kim, take us out.
Thanks, Adam. I just wanted to say, I know Deborah was trying to say that I think that space crashed. So another way to get there is to click on the person's profile and you'll see a ring around it. That indicates that they're in a space. It'll be glowing and, moving around, and you can just click on their picture and it'll say join space, and then you can join the space that way.
American, I posted it up in the nest.
Thank you. All right, I'll give everybody a minute to do that. Appreciate everybody coming. Hopefully you learned something today. Definitely made some connections, and it's always great to see everybody.
Go team.
Go team.
Go team.
Love you guys.